Okay, we have reached the proud and loud week of our class, and this particular lecture is on LGBTQ children's literature. So this is a rather long explanation as to why we started using LGBT and Q fairly recently, when before it used to just be kind of gay, right? And so what happened is a lot of individuals did not feel like the gay community or gay really described who they were. So LGBT has been used for quite a while now, probably as long as maybe you remember. Not me, but you. And then we've recently added Q to it, which is for queer. So lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer. So queer used to be a bad word. You could slam somebody by using that term. But what has transpired is that now LGBTQ people use this term quite a bit and in a very positive and proud fashion. So one explanation for queer is that it's kind of the umbrella term of all of this. But interestingly enough, many straight people are using the term queer to suggest and represent the fact that they do not believe in the binary of just male and female. So my daughter Zoe uses that term to identify herself as well. So I got to kind of look into that a little bit more. I'm not sure all the way, but it's pretty exciting, some of the things that are transpiring in terms of this whole LGBTQ identity. So you might be asking, what does this all have to do with children's literature, right? Sorry, I'm laughing because Jupiter, we're not going anywhere right now. So like, just park it. It's kind of windy and so she's kind of weird. Huh, Jupe? Okay, so you're probably wondering why or what all this has to do with children's literature, right? Tie in. I like this quote. The dominant attitude among adults in school communities, anyway, is that topics related to LGBTQs are not relevant to young children's lives, and that the discussions of such topics is inappropriate for children. But this is the reality, right? And you probably already know that children really are impacted by their environment, by the society, by their family members and what's going on. And so they've already soaked up a lot of information regarding people's disdain, maybe, for LGBTQ individuals or their family members that are of this ilk. So kids already are there in terms of knowing about it. So there's no hiding out in this respect. And what Sapp is pointing out in this quote in his article is that a lot of times, again, it's stereotypical, right? And we've learned that stereotyping races and communities is really a crazy thing to do, and kids absorb all of that, and it's hard to shake it off. So that's why it's important to have great books reflecting our communities, right? Another great quote. I have a lot of them, I think. Children expect the world as they know it to be represented in some of the books they read. If they see no reflections of themselves or the world they live in, they begin to wonder about themselves, right? So the whole windows and mirrors concept is just so powerful, right? And we know that we all want to be reflected in our world. And children, so if children are from an LGBTQ family, they want to see that in the world, right? So we want books like this, rich with all sorts of stuff, and not books like this, step by step instructional ways of why you might be in an LGBTQ family. So the deal with the canon of literature for LGBTQ stuff is that it started out really crummy and it's gotten a little bit better. It's definitely done better than disability literature, children's literature, but it started off just almost as crummy as disability children's literature. It's getting better though. So this again is so important. So topics and themes are really paramount and to any book, right? Because that's what hooks you in. And so a lot of the first books that came out for LGBTQ kids or for families in the 1990s were really, really bad. A lot of them were so bad. This like they didn't have any. I mean, the story's everything, right? So they didn't have much of a storyline. They just kind of said, "Oh, here we are, and we're gay, so this is it," kind of thing. And so, who wants to read those kind of books? Nobody. So I love this, that Hansel and Gretel is a story about abandonment and how smart children can save themselves. It wasn't titled Daddy Dumped Me in the Forest. So that's the kind of theme that a lot of the early gay and lesbian books were. They're just kind of pounding in the idea that, yeah, we're, gay family. And then there wasn't really enough of a hook of a story line to keep it going and keep anybody interested. Here's some examples. Daddy's Wedding. Everything is, the whole story is in the title. You don't even need to open it up. So Daddy's Wedding, 1996. My Two Uncles. All families are different. Who's in a family? All families are special. The Addams Family. Just so many family things. I thought I'd add that one. You probably don't know. The Addams Family. Da-da-da-dun. 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 Way too old, but maybe you've seen it. So one interesting thing that happened with a children's book, LGBTQ children's book, was this one. This was a revolutionary book. Heather Has Two Mommies. And it was written, it was one of the first books with a storyline that didn't just say, I have two daddies. And the deal is that this caused all sorts of ruckus. And so I have a videotape, it's pretty short, of the author of this book, Leslie Newman. And would you listen to it? It's probably about 3 minutes. So it's just amazing what has transpired with this book. Seriously, check it out. So it was an actual children's book that had actually had a story and was actually interesting, but dun dun dun, two mothers. So it kind of flipped everybody's lid. This was the original illustrations for that book. And then when it came, it's been reissued. But let me tell you this part. So most banned book lists from 1990 to 2009, and it probably is still one of the most banned books. And so I have a version of it in the link for you to see. And it's the one that it's not kind of those black and white kind of stark images, which I personally like. It got revamped kind of as a celebration when the whole Supreme Court said, yes, you can marry who you want. So that link is in the, for that book is on Canvas, and just check it out, because just for sure see the little video of the author saying what happened with her book, and then watch the book or read the book and say, what's the big deal, right? But times have changed a little bit, for some not as much as we'd like, but an interesting revolution with this book. So again, that was the beginning of some fairly decent books, and we're getting better ones now. They're not just all like kind of how-to manuals, right? So this is important, that the idea, the LGBTQ theme is maybe there, but maybe it's in the background. Maybe it's just part of the story, but it's not all of the story. And we all want to read good stories. So this is a kind of a fun one. It's Stella, who has a big imagination, seeing all sorts of stuff, and just happens to be in an LGBTQ family. And And this one, Felicia's favorite story, and it's her story about being adopted by her two moms, and how they flew over in a plane and stuff. So good stories that also fold in the theme. An easy way to just present to children that there's differences in the world, there's diversity, and it's okay. This is a great series, King and Family. Somebody, I can't remember who, sorry, someone had mentioned it in their discussion, so that's kind of fun. There's a couple of cute storylines in this one, and oh wow, did everyone flip out when this first came out? But that's been an interesting one. And then this has been another one of those most banned books, and Tango Makes Three. That's why I started off with Two Penguins. It's based on a true story of two male penguins that were in love at what is it, the New York somewhere, I can't remember what zoo. So I have that in the link. You've maybe seen or heard of it. So that's kind of a fun book to listen to and read. So check that one out. The person kind of reads it a little slowly, so maybe have something to drink with you while you're watching. It takes a little while. I think it might even be 7 minutes, but just a great true story about a couple of penguins in a big city zoo that wanted to have a kid and got to have an egg from another nest that they weren't taking care of it, and got to raise Tango. So just fun things out there. And again, people are still freaking out about this book, just so you know. It's been out for at least a decade. Still freakouts. So what's great with young adult books, for sure, is the kinds of themes that they tackle, the chapter books, and that's part of children's literature. I don't talk about it very much, but those chapter books have some amazing, complicated themes in them, and are doing great jobs presenting some of the LGBT community that way. And transgender subjects are certainly coming up more and more because of the big revolution of that happening, right? Just really kind of busting out the notion of what gender even is. It's just a really interesting topic for someone like me who studies, the construction of gender quite a bit in my other class. So it's just all over the place. So great books for that. This was one that's just came out, I think, about a year ago. So just Xenophobia July is a hacking and coding prodigy who's attending a new school as a girl for the first time. Though she's recently lost her family of origin, I don't know why, she creates a chosen family in the LGBTQ plus community. So this is for ages 10 and up, right? So there's different developmentally appropriate books, right, for some tough topics. And so you wouldn't really need to want to be broaching some of these issues with kids younger than this. I mean, that's for families to do, right? But as teachers, here's this is such an amazing book, and I couldn't find and read aloud because, oh my gosh, it is so cute. I have it, and I read it to my preschoolers, and I don't present anything else about it except for the story. And so here, let's see. This is an exuberant picture book. A glimpse of costume mermaids leaves one boy flooded with wonder and ready to dazzle the world. While riding the subway home from the pool with his abuela one day, Julian, no wait, am I saying it right? Julian notices three women spectacularly dressed up. Their hair billows in brilliant hues. Their dresses end in fishtails, and their joy fills the train car. When Julian gets home, daydreaming of the magic he's seen, all he can think about is dressing up just like the ladies in his own fabulous mermaid costume. So a butter yellow curtain for his tail. He takes down the curtain at his abuela's abuela's house, while she's in the shower, and he finds a potted fern for a headdress. And then he's like, oh my gosh, what's his grandma gonna do when she sees this mess, and is she still gonna love me? More importantly, what will she think about how Julian sees himself? Mesmerizing and full of heart. Jessica Love's author illustrated debut is jubilant. So anyway, it's so good. I just love it so much. I just wanted to show you some of the illustrations. This is when he just is getting dressed up to kind of emulate the mermaids he saw. And then it's so cool. His grandma doesn't even get mad. She just gets him on the subway, and they go see some mermaids. It's just beautiful. That should have been before the other one. Mermaids. So really big ideas. Hey, Jupiter, quit whining. Jeez. There's really big ideas with these books, right? And there's really ways to present these topics in a meaningful and appropriate manner, given the age group that you're working with. And again, as a preschool teacher, I'm not going to do a lot of deconstructing about different LGBTQ concepts. I think that is left to the family for sure. But I feel like it's also my responsibility when we're looking at the windows and mirrors of the world, right? That we show the world, and we need to show all of our world, all the diversity of our communities, so that every child feels reflected and represented, right? So I think that's important stuff to do. Oh yeah, so this is good. Multicultural literature is a culturally responsive tool, a tool that empowers teachers and students to create a caring culture in a world filled with diversity and differences. So, great point. Here's my question. As always, how can we help counter sexist, racist, ableist, and LGBTQ phobic messages? You know what I'm going to say. Yep, change the message. Do you know this one by heart by now? Quality multicultural literature provides an opportunity for all children to see themselves in books, fosters a positive self-esteem, and cultivates respect, empathy, and acceptance of people. Big stuff, right? Better books out there now. And some of them are still getting banned. And people are freaking out about some of them. But there's beautiful stories, thoughtful stories. And everybody has a right to be reflected in their society. So this is in the link. It's kind of a cute book. Just simple story. Again, for the younger groups, we're not going to tackle big issues. We're just going to talk about families. So the video that I want you to watch, oh my God, it's so good. So this is Patricia Polacco. She's one of the bestest children's books illustrator and authors and she's tackled so many different subjects. So I want you to watch this, and she's going to explain why she wrote this book in our mother's house, and she has some really great points about acceptance. So do that, because there's a couple questions for the final exam. And in terms of questions for the PowerPoint, I never remember to ask you about them, so oh well, let's just skip that part. Okay, so there's a couple of cute books in the link for you to look at, and do look at the author. Well, there's two authors, right? There's Heather Has Two Mommies, and then In Our Mother's House. So do look at those two and enjoy. Okay, thanks for listening.